Hashtag shaken not scared recordings. Hashtag hashtag claws.
Hashtag ain't no laws when you're drinking claws. Welcome back to the Shaken Not Scared podcast. Here with you as always, your hosts, Erick and Vivi. Today we're going to be talking about the 2015 film, The Funhouse Massacre, directed by Andy Palmer. But before we get into that, how are you, Vivi?
I'm super excited because once again, we have a guest.
Yes,
Yay!
we have Joe finally on.
Yes.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, do you want to tell us a little bit about your podcast and what you're doing over there?
Definitely. No, I'm so excited to be on this. I feel like a long time in the making. But I have a podcast, it's Flyover State of Fear. I actually have two podcasts, Flyover State of Film and Fear. And Erick and Vivi have been on Flyover State of Fear. And it's kind of like all other horror podcasts in a sense. I have guests on, and I like to learn about the guests' horror interests and origin stories. And then we dive deep into whatever movie they have picked, typically, or hopefully something they've means something to them or they've wanted to revisit, and just have like a fun chat. It's very loose, very organic chat, and really enjoy it. And then you could check out our other podcast where it's just four best friends kind of goofing around for an hour and a half and generally around a movie and some fun games and topics.
Yeah, it's a grand old time. I like listening to your show.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a fan of your show, so I'm really happy to this is fun.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about you earlier. I was like, it's so fun when we meet other people who are in the space. Just people who are, I feel like, intimidating. Like when I think about certain podcasts, I'm like, oh man, like it'd be so tough to go on there because they know so many names and like a ton about horror. And then there are people who are just like, they know a ton, like yourself. I feel like you know so many different facts about horror. But then it's also like a good time because it's just chilled and like, you know, you don't really feel that intimidation.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I feel the same way in the horror space because I'm like, or at least I guess I know a lot of movies, and I dove into this podcasting because they interest me, and I think horror movies were the most interesting to talk about. But I know shit. I know nothing. I know like the surface level where people are like, oh yeah, extremist impressionism horrors, and I'm like, yeah, I don't. Freddy Kreuger.
Yeah.
So no, it's always a blast, and yeah, it can be intimidating, but I have found that most people, like at least the guests, have had a wide variety. I'm like, once you break the barriers, hopefully everyone has a fun time. But yeah, it's gonna happen. I keep saying I'm like 27 episodes into my show. I'm like, one day I'm gonna have a bad guest, and it hasn't happened yet.
That's good. Yeah, same here. I feel like everyone we've had on has been
It's been pretty fun. Yeah.
So
let's keep it that way.
Do you want to talk about creepy content? What do you have? What have you been watching? What have you been reading?
Yeah. So I actually, weirdly enough, I just watched the movie we originally picked for this podcast, the Poughkeepsie tapes, and a little too intense. Wasn't like my favorite, and I'm glad we pivoted. We talked about that kind of in the pre-show, and I feel like it's the last horror movie I watched. I watched about like a week ago, and other than that, haven't picked anything up too creepy recently. Oh wait, I have a note here. I did recently finish Resident Evil 2, the remaster for PS4.
Yes.
So that was really fun.
Does it live up to the old hype?
Yeah, I played it like once on my N64 like years and years ago. But no, I had a good time playing. I was looking for a horror game that wasn't like too hard, and that was like the perfect level. And I'll probably take a break. And then I recently was at Goodwill, and I found this perfect 8-inch monitor that is like perfect LCD screen. It was $15. So now when I have TV on, I have that up, and I've been playing a lot of GameCube. And I think I'm gonna start up Resident Evil 4, the 2-disc, because that's like my favorite game of all time. But especially when it was on GameCube. So I think I'm gonna boot that up again. But I'm terrible with video games where I like I start like 2 missions and then I move on to something else.
So am I. Yeah, we picked up the first one a few months back, and we'd even said that maybe we'd stream it. But yeah, it's one of those things, especially Resident Evil, it's like you can't really walk away because there's so many puzzles that if you do, you forget what happens and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to start all over. I'll play again later when I have the time.
And save points.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So you're not like, oh okay, I'll just save now and pick it up later. Like I have to go to the next spot and save to that typewriter, and I don't have health.
I don't have enough floppy disks for saving.
Yeah. What about creepy content for you guys?
Do you have creepy content?
I don't. I feel like we've just been so all over the place.
Yeah.
That every time we've gotten to like creepy and comfort, we just skip it lately because we're like, the creepiness is how long it's taking us to get a house.
Cool. I told the scares. Yeah. I gotcha. You know what? For creepy content, I'll add the Mets bullpen seems very creepy, and that's my comfort content right now. Baseball started, so
the creepiness for us is that we don't even like sports, and everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. Well, mute me on Twitter right now.
Do you have any?
I've just been trying to squeeze in season 2 of Cursed Films that's now on Shudder. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, no, I've been meaning to dive into that. It's been like a little too late at night for me to start anything creepy when I wanted to get to that. Season 1, do you ever check out when when they did the same documentaries but on E.
No, I haven't seen the E one.
I only bring this up because I've been wanting to talk about this like on podcasts at some point. So when we were around high school era, probably around, they did all of those cursed films, at least Exorcist, Poltergeist. They had like a 3 or 4 hour doc. I thought it was better than the cursed ones, but it was on E of all places. So I want to check out season 2 also, Vivi. I haven't, has it been good?
So I definitely think they got a production boost from season 1 to season 2. The episodes are longer now, and they're doing the thing that I hate that streaming services do, where they release 1 episode a week.
Oh, gross.
Give me the whole thing at
We
once.
got streaming for a reason.
Exactly.
Especially Shudder.
Yeah, but it's a good time.
I want to watch it specifically. My brother-in-law, I don't know if you guys are fans of like Tim and Eric stuff. They have a show called On Cinema, and there's a guy doing a bit. It's like a goof, like weird movie comedy thing. The guy who runs it got hired to be one of the talking heads on cursed films and as a Wizard of Oz expert. And apparently he's just playing a character doing this, and he was hired in cursed films. They didn't realize it when they hired him.
What?
Oh my god,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really funny, but I'm like, I kind of want to see it because I'll know. I don't know the show as well as my brother-in-law, but I want to watch it.
So you're saying that we all have a chance to be on cursed films?
You just fake it till you make it.
Yeah, just listen. You need a podcast. You need a couple podcasters for your show just to fake it. I'm in. We're doing this whole time.
I'm surprised we're not faking it right now. So what do you have for comfort content? Do we have any?
I just watch Bob's Burgers all day, every day in preparation for the movie coming out in May.
You really do. It's like to the point where I just associate lunch and eating with Bob's Burgers because she always puts it on the side with her phone. I really can't wait for the movie though.
Yeah.
My mother is Linda.
Oh my god, that's
so
hilarious.
Like she was her for Halloween, and she looks and sounds like Linda.
That is hilarious.
Acts like Linda.
You need to share that one day.
I'll text you the photo. Yeah, I love Bob's Burgers. They have great Halloween episodes too.
They have great holiday episodes.
I wish they would pocket them like a playlist.
That'd be great.
Kind of like how Disney Plus puts all the Treehouse of Horror in one for Halloween.
Yeah, they need to learn.
Great.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
Do you have any comfort content, Joe?
I just like baseball started. It's my wife and I is just come home. There's always something on to watch, and play on your phone or video games and just background. So that's comfort for me. The Mets are on, and then anger when when the inevitable happens. But
discomfort content.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely. Definitely comfort content. It's just that, and then actually, weirdly enough, speaking of the movies, I've been making a conscious effort to actually watch the physical media I have instead of just streaming. So I've been like randomly going to the wall and going, great, let's watch Halloween, on physical instead of searching for streaming. So that's actually been comforting. I've been doing that last couple months.
I feel that, because we recently started to do that too, like physical medium, because I feel like there's more magic in just being like, let's pick up the actual movie. We picked up vinyl records recently too, and it's kind of cool to like have the music on, and we're like just sitting there like drinking our wine, and we're like, I really feel the fire in Carrie's eyes when
records and wine go together really nicely.
Yeah. Meanwhile, our cat Elvira is just like zoning out because the sounds are weird. I have to share that video. I tried on Discord, but it was too big, the file.
She's insane.
Yeah, she is. But she vibes with the music a little bit. The only comfort content I have lately is I really like anime, and I finished Hunter x Hunter finally, and I started a new one called Toradora. It's not as intense, and it's actually more like a romantic slice of life comedy type anime. I love anime like that where it's
super dramatic.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to give me some recommendations. I'm terrible with anime.
Oh, there's plenty of horror anime out there if you haven't.
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah, Attack on Titan. It's one that comes immediately.
Hell yeah. I think the only anime, and it's not even, I know it's not anime to the purists, but as I've ever delved into is is Avatar.
Oh, hey, we love Avatar.
That is totally anime.
Yeah. Okay, good. I have a friend who's like, it's not, but it's the best show ever. I'm like, okay,
it is great.
Anime to me.
All right, we didn't come up with a drink for today, but it's also a pretty hard movie to come up with a drink for. It's kind of like those anthology styles where there's a lot of just different themes in the film. And sure, maybe we could have made like a clown or like Funhouse drink, but given how chaotic things are, I think we all kind of came to the consensus that a beer is okay. We don't have a theme beer either, so we're all just drinking whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it today, and it's definitely hard to find. So this movie reminds me a lot of like the feels around Halloween and like those perfect. So maybe just a pumpkin like Oktoberfest beer would have sufficed. It's April. I don't know. I mean, I have a White Claw and a Guinness in my fridge. fridge. I don't got that, but
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I actually, the one Guinness bottle in there, I bought from when we originally record on St. Patrick's Day. And it's just been there. But I didn't feel like that right now.
Yeah, we're drinking just regular stuff. I think we've brought Everyday IPA Revolution on the show before, right?
Don't know, but they are very popular in Chicago. Both these beers, Lagunitas and Revolution.
Oh, I love Lagunitas.
Oh, nice.
You've had it?
Yeah, no, good. That's a good beer.
Cool. So we won't rate them. I'm sorry, listeners, if you were just so excited for a Funhouse Massacre beer or drink, but just find something else and get ready for the wild ride that is the rest of this movie.
Because it is wild.
All right, so let's get into fun facts. Joe, you had a ton of knowledge on this movie, so take it away.
Yeah, I do love this movie. I actually have the poster signed by the cast, or the writer and the two writers, which are Bumblebee Girl and the deputy are married, and they wrote the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I kind of followed this movie, and it's like, I don't want to say Inception, but I followed the guy who wrote it. The guy who wrote it had a podcast in like 2014 or 15 or so. I was listening to his podcast a lot. Him and his wife, the Bumblebee, Lori, and Deputy, always want to say Dewey, but it's
like
Doyle.
a spoof.
Yeah, Doyle, their husband and wife, and they wrote the movie together. And it's like their love letter to this genre of filmmaking with all the references and over the top. So I kind of came in with like a heavy knowledge of it. And actually, I like have the poster up behind me. I actually didn't have it in this room. And then when I went recently to my parents' house, because we're talking about it, I was like, I have that. And it's signed. To promote it, he was like, oh, like if, you send me your ticket stub, I'll send you guys the first 15 a mailer. And I was fortunate where this screened in 20 screens and it was near my house. I still felt really bad of my Twitter exchange because I tweeted about it. And the guy's really nice, Ben Bagley and Renee Dorian. And I was like, you love the movie? Like, went to the screening. And he was like, oh, how many people were at the screening? And it was like a Tuesday night. I mean, like real late. And I think there was maybe 5. And I was like, oh, like 13, because I didn't feel like, I felt like it was like, didn't want to, but I didn't want to say 5. So I said 13, and then he was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh yeah, that's, I get it. Probably not what you want to hear, but
you should have just said you.
Yeah, just me, private theater.
I rented it out.
Yeah, so I definitely really enjoy this movie. But some fun facts. What do we got? This was shot at a real haunted theme park in Ohio called Land of Illusions.
Oh, I've heard of that.
In
really?
Ohio. Yeah, and they did the whole set on that plot. Like the police station was filmed in their production office. Almost every scene except for like 1 or 2 of them. I even think where we start with the insane asylum, like they filmed that there. So really cool and like neat for like, especially like an indie. Like it sounds like they really maximized their budget. They use as little CGI as possible, and I feel like that shows like just a few things that were enhanced by CG.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, there's CG in this? Other than like that giant moon by the police
Station,
it's so clearly like fake.
I think when he's getting burned by the steam rollers, the CG's coming off of that. I did listen to they did like a watch along commentary, so I did that today while I was working, and I did pick up on, do you remember when the face is getting smushed into the chain link fence and the eyeball pops?
Yeah.
The eyeball was added in, but the smush is practical.
Oh, cool.
And Robert Kurtzman did practical effects, which I did not know and thought was really, really neat, because he did the original Freddy Kreuger design.
Yeah, all the practical effects I feel like are, as much as like this movie feels like it's B, C, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's like a B movie, I would say, indie horror B movie.
All of the special effects are so gruesome and good.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, like what I really like about it too is like none of the actors seem like all the actors are doing a really good job. And a lot of the movies that have this level, like there's always like 1 or 2 that like I'm like, not in there, not great, even though I like the movie. So I always give props to that. And then my other fun fact is a lot of the villains and like how they set it up were, you mentioned earlier, comic book, they were inspired by Batman and like Arkham.
Oh, you can tell, like, totally.
Yeah.
They weren't even subtle, like Quinn.
Yeah.
Because the doll face is literally supposed to be Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
But and like Rocco,
yes.
Yeah, is Bane basically.
Yeah.
There's
literally in
my notes put like he gets Batmaned.
He does.
Oh yeah, he does. And because they mentioned it a lot in that commentary too, of like Ben Bagley, who like was the one who had the podcast and stuff at the time, was like he's written as the Doctor Who kid.
Okay.
Like that's Doyle's voice in real life. And I thought it was really funny. I don't know if this is under fun facts or not, but like when when Laurie and him, the Doctor Who, like get to kiss, like that's his wife in real life. And apparently she was very like, oh finally I get to like kiss someone on camera, like, because he's, I guess, been more of a working actor. Or like in movies and shows, I should say, that he got to make out with women, and she was like, my turn.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah, you might as well get back, right?
Yeah, and he was the one being like, no, give them more passion. So it seemed like, from what I understood of like everything, it seemed like a really like fun set, and to me that always like comes off on this movie.
Yeah, there are movies that I feel like are like of this caliber that seem too forced. It's like either they were trying to do way too much, or
not
there's
enough.
like it's like there's things in here that are like, yeah, you could tell it was 2015, right?
Yeah, I don't think everything works, or aged great, but overall, like, I would put this in like a comfort horror for me. Over, like, I look forward to Halloween time, and I get like that mood. Like, it was weird today watching it and having like the windows open, and it's spring, and I'm like, ooh, do we have the pumpkin like alcohol out, and we want to dress up in costumes?
Yeah, I was talking about it and comparing it to like Beast of Bray Road. I don't know if you ever watched that.
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
That's the
Do
one
not watch it.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, there are B movies that are like, oh man, this is definitely not a rewatchable movie. And I watched this movie twice. I wasn't bored the second time.
Oh, good.
No, it's fun.
Yeah, like I said, it's not. I know it's not. We'll get into every aspect of it, but I'm glad that's the vibe it was, because I'm like, it's a good movie, and what I like about it too is like, my podcast I did mention, like, my wife can't do horror movies, but this was one where I'm like, no, like, it's a little gruesome, but you look away and you'll enjoy it. Like, the humor and everything else blends itself well as a good horror comedy. And
it's not a little gruesome. I feel like there are B movies that don't do well with the special effects and brutality. But this movie goes like the whole.
I meant like you could look away and be like, turn around.
Yeah.
I guess I always find like the cartoon violence, I'm like, it's not too bad, and then I rewatch. I'm like, oh, it's fucking bad. It's tough.
All right, cool. To get us into it, are you ready, Joe, for the 1 minute speed run?
I've been practicing this in the shower.
Oh man.
Kind of, in my head at least, so it's gonna come out completely just dog shit, but let's do it.
On 3. 1, 2, 3, go.
All right, so we meet a Stitchface, a girl walking up to the insane asylum, and we get to see Robert Englund, and he introduces all these crazy criminals, and then he dies. Then we see a bunch of diner kids, and they're like, we're shutting down. We get a really gross scene with some steaks, and then juxtaposition to these insane inmates or serial killers taking over a funhouse attraction, while these diner kids are going to the funhouse, and they're walking through, and there's kids walking around not paying attention on phones. There's a bunch of disgusting shit, and then they all realize it's real, and then they get back to the diner. I'm not going to go back to the diner. The diner kids then realize it's real, and they fight back, but there's also, at the same time, there's a cop and a deputy going around, and the cop is very tough as nails, and she's kind of figuring it out, and we turn out there's some more deaths, and then we turn out that actually the cop is related to the cult leader, and then there's a showdown, and we think everyone's dead, but then Stitchface comes back, who's the killer clown.
Done.
And,
that was pretty good.
Would you say that you won? Were you done?
He totally won.
Yeah?
I don't know. I think that was gibberish.
Suddenly Stitchface came back. I didn't even know she was dead.
They faked her death. They totally did.
Well, did you? There's an after credit, like a post credit one too.
Oh, a post?
Yeah, like the end of the credits.
We saw where she comes out of the ambulance.
Yeah, there's a little tag at the end of the movie too.
What?
Oh, we missed it.
Yeah, we have to watch it right after this. But...
Yeah, it's what's his name? The clown, the big guy. Rocco. He the body bags are all, there's a ton of body bags lined up, and it just kind of like, there's one extra large one, and the bag just kind of like shimmies.
Oh, cool.
Oh man.
And then like it ends, but yeah, the Stitchface kind of tag on it. So yeah, no, that was like looking forward to the speedrun. Like I said, I'm a fan. I listen to generally every episode of your show, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna nail this speedrun. Or I was to rephrase that, I was hoping to nail the speedrun.
I'd say he won, right?
I would say so.
Unless you still want to take a shot anyway.
Let me go get it. I'll take a shot.
Okay, cool.
Okay, perfectly themed. I got pumpkin.
Oh, sick.
Oh, cool.
I think I've seen that bottle before. Is it good?
Yeah, it's sweet. You put it on ice, and it mixes well with like sodas and stuff.
Oh, sweet. Vivi's not taking a shot because she's taking Zyrtec because it's allergy season.
Yeah, totally get that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'll just sip my beer.
Yeah, allergies have been terrible. Ooh, all right. Even if I won it, doing a shot with you guys is winning. So down for me.
Yeah, you did great though. You did way better than I could ever dream to do, because I'm surprised I have a podcast. I can't formulate thoughts and put them in order. This is why we have heavy editing.
Yeah.
But now that you're done with the speed run, do you want to talk about what the internet says this movie's about?
Sure. Do you have a phone? Because mine is charging.
I don't have a phone ever. Just kidding. Funhouse Massacre. Massacre sounds so much more intense in Spanish than massacre. Massacre.
All right,
here we go.
6 of the world's scariest psychopaths escape from the local asylum and proceed to unleash terror on the unsuspecting crowd of a Halloween funhouse, whose themed mazes are inspired by their various reigns of terror. And it is rated a 5.2.
That was surprising.
Yeah.
When I saw that it was rated a 5.2, I was like, we have seen literally like critically acclaimed movies get a 3 or a 4.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't get like review bombed. Like I feel like those critically acclaimed movies get review bombed. It's IMDb, right?
True.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't trust IMDb's ratings. They're like you could go in and manipulate them.
Yeah, it's plus minus like 3, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only 3,800 reviews, so I see that. I feel that. Like if not enough people
like
watched
thousands of reviews. Yeah.
We just mentioned it on our Discord, and I think people were like, "Oh yeah, just barely heard about this from you."
Yeah.
It definitely is under the radar. It's definitely become my like one of like recommendation of like, are you looking for something? And and it's in that like list. It's like this and Satanic Panic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which also has the same tone, I feel like.
Yeah. So diving into the Funhouse Massacre, it's Halloween night, and we see a mysterious woman approaching the Statesville Mental Hospital. She rings the doorbell, and a security guard inside says it's too late for visitors, but she says she had an appointment with Warden Kane and missed it because of traffic. I feel that. The security guard zooms in on her chest, and we hear another man recognize her as Mrs. Quinn and lets her in. It's Robert Englund playing Warden Kane, and he yells at the security guard saying they've already got a close eye on them, and he's making it worse by sexually harassing the journalist.
What a surprise. Did not expect him to be in this movie.
I thought he was going to have a more prominent role, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they got him for like 2 days or some shit. So.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
Oh, yeah. He owns it.
Oh, yeah.
He owns the role. I covered a movie on Fear where he was like, played like a guy who could let loose who wasn't Freddy. It was called Jack Brooks. And it reminded me of this movie where like he owned what he was in.
Yeah. And I wonder if that comes from pressure of like, we watched a documentary and where he talks about like, I'm not just Freddy Kreuger. Like I have acting range.
Yeah. He's like, I am an actor. And I think he's getting a documentary on Shudder.
Oh,
I believe.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. I could be wrong. Could be another network, but he is getting a documentary.
Good.
They replay his audio, don't they, at the end?
Do they? I don't remember.
I don't know. I've seen this movie a ton, and I haven't. If they do, I haven't noticed.
Or maybe I'm thinking of Jawbreaker.
You're thinking of Jawbreaker, yeah.
Honestly, they should have. They should have put
Judy Greer is a different actor.
Judy Greer is not Robert Englund.
Now that's an idea. When they remake Freddy, we bring back Judy Greer, and she's Freddy Kreuger, though.
And it's Robert Englund running from Judy Greer.
I'd love that. I'd watch that.
Yeah, better than the Halloween movie she's in.
Well, she's dead now, so she can't.
I know she can jump franchises.
God, Judy Greer's Freddy is so much better than anything anyone's going to come up with.
Mrs. Quinn enters, and the two of them just stare at her. But she's like, "Y'all okay?" I don't bite. Kane says they're fine, and she asks if she can record their walkthrough. But Kane is definitely like a shady character. He's like, yeah, like all the bells and whistles, let's do it. But also, can we get off the record and let me tell you some fucked up shit? Kane asks if anyone's warned her about the place before they get started, and she says she doesn't scare easily. He responds saying there are people in there that even God is afraid of. Like, yo, chill.
That it was a very good dramatic line, though.
It is a good line. But when we met the people, I was like, all right, well, there's more fucked up people out there.
It's like this asylum is just like Con Air, but just for horror.
Yeah.
That like, these are all the killers, and this is what they're doing. And then we get the exposition.
They start the walkthrough, and she says she's surprised they've managed to keep the place a secret for so long. Kane says it's because most of the jobs left the area, and so did the people. So no one is looking for it in the middle of nowhere. She asks why the secrecy and says other facilities for the criminally insane exist and let them go on trial. She questions their rights, and Kane just says they're monsters and terrorists. He says that Dahmer and Gacy might have gotten all the press, but these are the ones people whisper about around the campfire.
I do like that he tries to say, these aren't your run-of-the-mill, like, true crime psychopaths. And then they literally are, like, Ed Gein and, like, every serial killer.
Just transplants. And I noticed this time, like, taking notes for it, I was like, oh, everyone's story is, like, their work put them in here.
Yeah. Relatable.
It's almost more depressing when they go into the maze and they're just like, this isn't even like the right tool set. What the fuck?
Yeah, I love that. I love that joke.
She responds, so would killing them be the answer? Kane says, off the record, and she turns off her record. Kane says if he didn't have people looking over his shoulder, he'd put a bullet in each of their heads.
Foreshadowing.
Ooh. They enter a room that they call Supermax. Supermax is not impressive.
It's also
literally
not
two
very
guys by a
guarded.
door. Yeah.
Psycho Sinundrum. That's not a word.
But it doesn't look very Supermaxy. When they start the tour of all the people they've been talking about, he opens the first door window and introduces Jeffrey Ramsey's, or Animal the Cannibal. We see a man eating out of a can of soup with a scar on his eye as Kane continues saying he was a famous chef whose flank steak was to die for. But it turned out he was serving customers to customers.
Is this a joke on Gordon Ramsay?
Oh, possibly.
Oh,
His last name's
probably.
Ramsey. Yeah. We see Jeffrey in a kitchen cutting up fingers and putting them into his soup. He says the scar is from one of the meals that fought back, and we see a woman scream for her life. I thought this next scene is hilarious because she's trapped to the table with saran wrap. Like, saran wrap is not restricting.
How much?
Well, it's like Dexter uses saran wrap, but this was so loose that they broke free.
It looks like just one layer of saran wrap, and he's just like,
Yeah.
it's fine. She's completely covered in saran wrap on a table and gets a hold of a fork, stabbing Jeffrey in the eye. He says the board of directors from the restaurant, they don't want people to find out he was serving people, so they arranged for him to disappear. Every situation of these two is just like, they didn't want anybody to know, so they just made them disappear.
Put them in here.
Yeah. They go to the next door, and we meet Bradford Young. Kane says he was a dentist that believed not every tooth could be saved, and we see Bradford with a patient forcing a drill straight through the guy's mouth and out the back of his head. Quinn goes to a third door, and we meet Walter Harris, or the taxidermist. We get shots of Walter putting the head of a woman onto a propped up body, saying she's gonna make someone a real nice wife. That, the first time I didn't really get that joke, and then the second time I was like, oh my god, you're saying he's gonna have a sex doll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gross.
That's disgusting.
It's played by Clint Howard, too.
Oh, I love him.
Which is funny because he has played a horror, I would say D-movie icon in The Ice Cream Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Kane opens the fourth door, and we meet Rocco the Clown. Quinn says he's a big boy, as Kane explains he broke 3 of his guards' arms, and that he was an underground wrestler and was accidentally killing people in the ring. I was like, accidentally? Because we get views of him killing people, and I was like, that looks definitely
Nobody noticed
purposeful.
that? Yeah.
I love that the actor, whoever they got for that, is so imposing and perfect for that
Yeah.
that role.
He's brutal.
And I think the commentary, the director said why he has those scars in his eye, in his face, the diamonds. His idea backstory was he'd cut them in and they're just scarred over time before matches. Because some wrestlers, those will use little razor blades to nick themselves.
Shit.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I like that little knowledge now.
Yeah. We see Rocco breaking necks and literally punch a guy's face off onto a woman's lap as she screams and people in the background are cheering. I love how much the commentary on this movie is just people are so fucked up they don't give a shit if people are actually dying.
Yeah.
He says his manager spun it that he was retiring so he could go out undefeated. It matters. He was literally killing people. I don't think
But his career still matters. Okay.
They could have decided 2 deaths ago, or maybe at the first death.
Maybe the first one. Yeah.
Last we meet Manuel Dyer, or Manny the Prophet. Quinn says he's responsible for the largest mass suicide in history and says they tried to cover it up as a giant building fire. Kane's like, yeah, sure, a fire that no one tried to escape from. We get shots of people in white cloaks. Manuel stands at the front with a little girl and says that Jesus told him that this was the way to sit beside God and asks for him to burn away their sins. They light a match and watch as a woman burns. Quinn stares at him while he stares back smiling, and she almost faints. Kane catches her and she says she needs a break. They walk off to Kane's office and she apologizes that she got a little overwhelmed. He says she shouldn't feel ashamed but stops mid-speech as she starts to take her blazer off and says it's getting hot. It's funny because Kane was like, don't sexually harass the reporter, but he's also like,
but let the reporter sexually harass you.
Yeah.
And then a scene where he's just like, oh, you're such a tease.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know if she's teasing.
No, she literally walked away after kissing me and went and grabbed her keys. She stands up and says it must be horrible working with them and starts climbing on top of him seductively. He's like, Miss Quinn, what's going on? But she shuts him up and says she has a fetish for men with bow ties.
That's a specific one, but okay.
Is that a Doctor Who, another Doctor Who reference?
Is
No.
it?
I do want to call one thing we haven't mentioned, that Stitch Face, or what's her name, Quinn in there. The wig, it is so bad.
Oh my
Yes. Yes, I was waiting until we got to her pulling off the wig.
I was like, oh, I hope the wig's because it's like
It's distracting.
We pointed
if
it
I'm
out,
Robert Englund, I'm going.
So what's with this?
Well, pretty lady, but like, she barely put on a wig.
It's so bad.
It is bad. And then she takes it off just to have an even bigger wig underneath.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
She kisses him and she walks off pulling a wire out of her bra as Kane says she's a tease. She grabs a small metal bar with a chain from her bag and hooks it to the wire. I thought she like hooked a key or something like that to the wire and that's how it stabbed, because the way his neck explodes, it's like he was stabbed by something. Yeah.
I think they said it was supposed to be like a slower one and the prosthetic just kind of like
erupted.
And they're like, fine, that's the vibe they're going for.
Yeah.
It like immediately bursts.
Yeah.
And sprays blood everywhere.
But definitely sets the tone for the rest of this movie.
Yeah. She goes around the back of his chair and puts the wire around his neck, suddenly pulling back and ripping at Kane's neck. He reaches back for her as blood spills out, and she asks if it's too tight as she twists the metal bar, putting more and more pressure on the wire. So he's dead, and she screams for help waiting by the door. A guard comes in as she stabs him in the leg and neck before taking his gun and walking out to the lobby to shoot the guard at the front desk from earlier. She goes around the desk and starts beating his head in with a nightstick while saying some chant about a baby liking to pound. She gets more aggressive by the end and takes her wig off. The wig falls onto the desk and we pan to the security cams as she releases all of the doors, letting the prisoners out. We pan back to Quinn putting on white makeup and using blood for the red on her nose. She took her wig off to put on an even bigger wig and now looks more like Harley Quinn-esque.
I love that you mentioned that she has a bigger wig because it's like wig to wig. That one's a better looks like hair.
Yeah.
She says daddy as we see Manuel enter the room. They hug and walk off together. We get the title card for the film and start at a crime scene at a motel. The sheriff shows up and gets briefed by a cop who says the victim was found by the cleaning staff 30 minutes before they arrived. We just played Hunt to Killer, the motel one. Murder at the motel. Something
like that.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so this is just like that.
That's how he's treating the crime scene, yeah.
They enter the crime scene and we watch the cop doing everything not to do at a crime scene as he tries to explain what he thinks happened, even ending up on top of the victim with what's possibly the murder weapon as he finishes his story. The sheriff tells him to dismount the victim, asks why he's contaminating the crime scene and holding the possible murder weapon without gloves. She says this all way too calmly.
Way too casually. You would have been fired immediately if this was real life.
Yeah. She's like, guess who is the first victim when we go back to send this to the lab?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, what kind of shoes you wear? Oh, it was a different pair of shoes? Because he steps in the blood. Yeah, no, we set it right up that Doyle is just a complete doofus. And Sheriff Kate, is just like, it's all serious.
Yeah.
All business.
I don't even know how Doyle has this job. Because she looks at him like...
Because he wrote the movie.
Yeah, right.
No, but how does he have the job? Like, he does something later on that literally is the only reason why all this shit happens anyway.
Yeah. He's really problematic. Everything he has done throughout the whole film is really bad. Actually, now that you mention it, I feel like a lot of B movies have this trope of a cop character. There's the one dopey one that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it clearly has to be a play on words like Dewey in Scream. In that first movie is the inexperienced cop.
Yeah, we recently watched Scary Movie for Patreon.
Oh.
And Doofy is literally...
I was convinced, not too long ago, sadly admit, that I thought it was David Arquette for both roles.
Yes.
Really?
Because Doofy looks so much like Dewey.
I always thought that in Scream, eventually Dewey becomes
is a
the killer.
Yeah. But because Scary Movie was so ingrained into the early 2000s, I feel like you always saw it.
Yeah.
She takes her turn to guess what happened and says there was only one attacker. It was already in the room since there's no sign of forced entry or struggle. They review her face and notice it's all slashed up, and the deputy asks if it's a Halloween thing. She says possibly and asks for an ID. He says they didn't find one, and she follows up if he asks the front desk, but the deputy's like, oh, he speaks in another dialect that I don't understand, but I'll try again. She stays behind and she says she hates Halloween in a very dramatic way. She's like, oh, I hate Halloween. I love just what they were going for in the dramatic parts of it. I don't like how the music kind of takes you out of each moment though. I feel like if the music had been kind of selected a little different, this could have worked a little more than it did.
Yeah, hit the beat of knowing that she's important to this and these aren't just cops we get, so I get that.
Yeah, the use of music is so weird. Even in the montage of here are the killers and this is what they do, it's the super
blaring
upbeat metal rock music, and it's just do. It makes it feel more like an action movie than a horror.
Yeah, but I do like the choice choice of songs for the intro credit. Like as a just the way I love when movies do the like the type roll up like that, like kind of like the type appears kind of like The Conjuring, but it's that like that heavy bass song pop. So that works there. But yeah, there's some odd choices here. Like I always thought when the killers were revealed, at least that metal type music or what they were going for was more to me just set that tone of like, don't take this like too seriously with the guys. Like we're setting things up so you want to watch kills, not the people. But I totally get that because like the tone shifts are a little the peaks and valleys.
It'll be like someone literally just got murdered, and then it's just like the super melancholy like TV show music when Morgan and Laurie are like, oh, I hope we get the third date. But then like 2 seconds later, it's super dramatic music again.
Yeah.
We meet Morgan eating a hot dog outside a restaurant as he walks back and forth, talking to himself through asking a girl out. Meanwhile, we hear a couple having the loudest sex, like banging on the walls. It's like when he's asking himself questions, it's almost like they're answering it.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Who has sex in a diner, especially like where you work?
It's a small town. I feel like
and they're like,
we know everybody.
I think I figured it out finally. I think they're supposed to be like post grad, like or like right in college at minimum.
Okay.
Or post college. And like that point too, like who's that? Like, yeah. Especially with like assumably like their boyfriend, girlfriend for like a decent amount of time.
Yeah. It plays into their characters though. I like these characters. Like they're crazy and they're probably the worst. Like they're the worst personalities ever, but I like them because they match.
Yeah, the actors play it great. And I know that all their sex scenes were all supposed to be like make it more crazy and dramatic than the pool scene in Showgirls. I don't know if you guys like have ever seen that where it's like super like dumb and wild. And I think every time we heard them, they were supposed to be like that ramped up.
Just the screaming, the lick my tits, lick my tits. I was like, what? Like, does anyone actually say that?
Oh man, we'll get to it too. But the sex scene later, when it's like they're already doing it, but when you could see them, she's like up on top of his shoulders.
I hate that. I'm like, I have a fun fact because like I listened to the thing and so I can remember now that one. Like, yeah, Christina, the sexually Hillary Clinton, which is aged horribly. She like choreographed that whole thing for them because the director was like, it was my first sex scene to shoot, and I was just very like timid and nervous, you know, in trying to be respectful and all this, but it's in the script. And apparently she was like the one to be like, no, this is how we want it. And I was like, okay, so like I get the over dramatics and that makes sense.
That's fun though, because if she's like, I mean, it almost sounds like Christina told the director like, no, fucking get out of here, you idiot. I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna direct the best sex scene.
The quote he said was, she said the jock kept blocking like the boob shots and stuff, and the quote she said to him was, oh, just say like tits out if that's what you want. I guess that actress was just like game and used to it. And I was like, oh, that is an interesting fact of like, because it fits the movie, but it doesn't. It's just like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. And it foreshadows her death too.
Yeah. Awkward when you hear that like these scenes are forced on people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to hear the other side where she's like, no, let's do
I got
it.
this.
Like,
yeah.
That's
you didn't want tits out, but I'm gonna give them.
Yeah, that's why that was like cool. Like, I'd always hate hearing stories of like, so we just they were casted for this reason. It's like, oh, it's gross.
He can't even get through his own thoughts and goes inside to find the couple Christina and Jason coming out of the storage closet. We meet Laurie dressed in a Bumblebee costume, who says his favorite customer is waiting as she hands him the food to serve.
I think I heard that Bumblebee, they were like originally written for her to be in one of those corny or bigger like ones that are more like for children.
Oh, that's funny.
But they were like, oh, you have to do action stunts, so this is going to be really impractical.
She stays behind and watches with Christina, who tells her she needs to give it up eventually. She says she should do it with Morgan, since he seems like he'd be gentle and even be down for cuddling after. We see an old man talking shit about the food and asks Morgan who he's supposed to be anyway. He says he's Doctor Who, and we get a tired Doctor What joke.
I've done that Who's on First joke. It's a classic Who's on First joke, and unfortunately I've had that like years ago with my dad, because my wife used to be a big Doctor Who fan. I was like, oh, she likes Doctor Who, and he was like, Doctor what? And I was like, no, it's the name. And it only lasted to that, but it was like, it's such an easy joke, but it does happen.
Morgan says he's going to take it back to the kitchen, and we meet a Hispanic guy, Gerardo, who says he's machete. Jason says he looks like Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite if he was into bondage.
Racist.
Yeah, it's just so racist. racist. This is what I was saying. It's like there are jokes in here that's like, meh,
Yeah. And I think the actor who played Machete, who I've seen in a ton of things, he was in Eastbound and Down. I think he ad-libbed a lot of his lines.
That's
like
fun.
A lot of people did that. But that one, you didn't need the Pedro reference in there. He could just be Machete.
Yeah. Gerardo asks him what he's supposed to be. Jason has a Letterman jacket on and says he's dressed like a real superhero himself.
What a loser.
Yeah, what a freaking asshole.
Because the Doctor Who makes the joke about an intramural like football, and then we go, okay, they're like post college. But I was like, I'm sorry, anyone listening, sorry if you do that. Anyone who wears a Letterman jacket post like high school, you're like, come on, man, you don't play anymore.
Yeah. Morgan says he has a peace offering and brings the old man's plate, saying it needs the Charlie special. We get a Waiting joke here. Do you ever see the movie Waiting with Reynolds?
Yeah.
I love that movie so much.
This is definitely, they do the dandruff and shit in it.
Yeah.
It's off screen. They don't show it, but like when Charlie is eating later, you see like the goo in his food.
This is the grossest scene of the movie.
The entire film, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like in this movie a lot, I felt like there was references and jokes to things that I was missing, and his character was one of them.
I don't think he was a joke to anything. I think it was just like, here's this gross scene. Like I said, that's my brain working that connection.
The alternative to the news is the reporter mentions the Macon County Funhouse is opening tonight and has caused some controversy as some of the mazes are based on local urban legends. Lori says the families of the victims could still be around, and Christina gets excited at the thought of the ghosts of the cult being in the halls of the Funhouse.
I don't know. I guess that like news thing was like fine insight, right?
Yeah. It sets the premise for the town being like, well, is it tasteless?
The one that it gives me the vibe of like when you go to those fun houses, like or those haunted mazes, like when with a group of friends, like it does have that feel, and it's a very vibe movie for me.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the scene in House of a Thousand Corpses where he's taking them through the attractions of like the local lore and ends at Dr. Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it gives me that vibe.
If you're interested in vinyls, they have the House of a Thousand Corpses on wax record.
If you want to relive your trauma.
I'll buy some other records.
We got an awkward exchange between Lori and Morgan, who keeps trying to say they can go together. Lori walks off awkwardly to take out the trash, and everyone makes fun of Morgan. Lori is being watched out back and gets jump scared by two dudes. The guys are friends, Mikey and Randall, dressed as zombies, and let the group know that Gerardo has taken them to the funhouse, so they should come with. Gerardo's like, I don't have enough room. But they're like, no, like, you drive a pickup, dude. It's fine. He's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. But they have to ride in the back because he has to keep the inside clean for Rosalina with a starry-eyed look on his face.
Yeah.
The character of him is just so conflicting to me.
I love him because I told Vivi, okay, we're Hispanic, right? And I was like, I find the jokes that are made about him problematic. I love that a Hispanic was at least chosen to be in this. And
jokes back.
And jokes back. He fights back and isn't letting himself be treated just like he's just the token side character. His comic relief is also his own.
Yeah.
Sure.
I do hate, however, that every time he's on screen, we get this like stereotypical like music.
The music.
Yeah. There's weird needle drops of like, I get you.
Guitar, acoustic.
Yeah.
So, like, I couldn't decide if I loved or hated what they were doing with this character, but I did end up really liking him because he was always just like, these white people crazy.
Yeah, that was a great line. It's funny too because he was like, apparently that in the pickup, he was asking the director like, why is no one sitting up front with me? This is weird. You know, like why? And apparently it was just so they could get that exposition in the back. So they put that girl. He was like, you want to save it for your for Rosalita. He's a conflict. I totally get what you're conflicting about because I always forget those. If the guitar needle drops weren't in there, it would make it a little less like, we get the joke. He's Mexican.
Yeah. They're all convinced to go and ride off while we see the old man waiting for his check. He's like, is anybody going to give me my check? But they've already
locked in there.
The inmates from earlier are at the funhouse as Manuel says he's going to give them a tour of their new playground. We meet the two guys in charge of the funhouse while one says maybe the news is right about it being in poor taste. The owner is like the customers aren't going to give a shit and that the bad press is only hyping their place up more. He even says that #GetKilledInMacon tonight is going wild on the socials. They walk out and the guy starts sniffing until he's like, weed, and walks off angrily.
Okay.
We see some actors dressed as every one of the inmates smoking a blunt until the last guy has taken it from him by Rocco, who tosses it. The guy complains about it being expensive shit, but Rocco grabs his head and the guy just says he was done with it anyway. I thought he was going to kill the dude right away.
I thought he was going to make out with him. The way he grabbed his head was very passionate.
It's you're expecting that first kill and then No.
Rocco lets go and walks away while the remaining actors are pissed, saying they were double booked. Bradford goes into the dental office remake and isn't impressed with the fake patient spewing blood. Jeffrey walks into the kitchen and is offended that the portions are all wrong and compares it to Cheesecake Factory. Walter enters a barn and says the tools they put out aren't even taxidermist tools. He's like so sad about it.
He's
I
so
love that
disappointed.
Yeah. Manuel walks into the Fire remake and says he has a new flock now. Dennis, the boss, shows up and yells at the cast when they hear Manuel over the intercom. Dennis runs to find who's on his mic while Manuel says all they wanted was their art to be seen by the world, but they were shunned, and now they want to profit off of what they fear. The actor who is supposed to play Quinn walks in on her and says she's supposed to be the Stitch-Face killer tonight and that her makeup looks terrible. Bradford and Walter already have victims strapped down as they get to work while Manuel says they'll never be forgotten and become fuel for their nightmares forever. The clown who's supposed to be Rocco goes around looking for the actual Rocco, but he's surprised and gets his face grabbed and ripped off with his bare hands.
This is a cool
All
kill.
face off.
Yeah.
I like how the guy just runs around still alive. The actors
Oh.
take a really long time to get killed. Like Quinn obviously is about to kill the actor who is supposed to be Stitch Face. And we see Rocco rip the face off of this clown, but we see them killed way later.
Yes.
After they're already doing other things. Dennis walks in on Manuel yelling, but he realizes he didn't hire him. Manuel says he doesn't know him, but he's sure he knows her and points at a photo of Dennis with Quinn. Dennis says they were just fuck buddies. When
There's
Manuel...
a photo of her.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I keep all of my photos as my fuck buddies.
Oh yeah, at the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
This is one thing I do want to think that was like a little clever of the writing, is to kind of layer in that like this long game, this whole place was set up for the killers by Stitch Face, and
It is
like
a very elaborate plan.
yeah.
Manuel has very prominent Joker vibes.
Yeah.
Even in the way his
Yeah.
eyebrows are arched and it's like his girl is
Yeah,
Quinn.
is that actor.
Yeah.
I made a comment before he right now confirms that that's his daughter. I was like, I don't know if she means like daddy in a sexual way
Yeah,
or
daddy.
just
Daddy.
or her actual dad.
Well,
I
like
mean-
yeah, like Harley Quinn would have said,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mr. J.
Yeah.
Jay. What does the shirt say now? It says Daddy's bad girl.
Daddy's
Daddy's girl.
monster.
Yeah, something
Daddy's
like that.
monster. That's what it is.
That is yeah.
Dennis gets spooked and says he might be mad that he couldn't keep his daughter under control, but that it's a big night for him. He gets interrupted by Manuel, who says the idea was never his and that he and Quinn had been planning it for a long time. He was just a puppet to help them create the perfect place for their return. Rocco appears behind Dennis wearing the clown's face and slams the top of his head. Dennis gets up and says he's going to sue the shit out of them. So even in like being murdered, he's like,
still a douche.
My business.
Ah, the businessman. I mean, no one's running these background checks on these funhouse, these Halloween like pop-up funhouse places.
Yeah, I had a chance to be an actor at Fright Fest at Six Flags,
Mm-hmm.
but
Oh, dope.
like even just the application process was an experience because I've never had to act, and I had to like get in front of somebody in a room, and they were like, "Okay, now act like a zombie," and I was like, "Okay," and I did my thing. Yeah, you're in.
I love Six Flags Fair Fest. I would
Yeah.
like to be an actor there.
I remember being a kid, and there was a specific Wolfman act. They had trampolines everywhere or something because this guy was jumping over walls.
Oh shit.
Oh, we went last fall, and it was weird. It was like different from when I went as a kid. It was like sectioned different haunted houses, like
Yeah.
attractions like this you could go walk to or enjoy the park. Maybe because of COVID, they didn't have as many like actors walking around scaring
maybe.
us,
Mhm.
which was like nice for the chickens in the group.
Yeah. At the police office, we see Sheriff Kate review news clippings of the Stitch Face killer and notices all the victims' photos are like what they saw at the motel. Meanwhile, the group is in the back of Gerardo's car talking about the shit face killer. Talking about the Stitch Face killer, saying she used to stitch their eyeballs and mouths shut. Mikey says they've gone to look over at Statesville and know there are still prisoners there. The group's like, yeah, you're full of shit the entire time. We get introduced to Bob and Dave, who are talking about how annoying Halloween is because they get sent to cheesy haunted houses. They talk about getting into podcasts because radio is dead, before they're interrupted by Jeffrey dressed as a security guard. They notice he has skin hanging out of his mouth and watch him eat it disgustedly. They ask for where they need to bring their equipment and just walk off awkwardly and like gagging. We get a quick montage of everything at the funhouse as more and more people start showing up. Jeffrey is taking all their tickets, and we see a guy on his phone walking, never taking a second to look up. So he's just, this is important, listeners. We see groups of people going through the mazes when a kid gets killed by Walter. The group gets scared, but then starts laughing, saying they're totally Instagramming this.
Totally. Totally.
Well, one of the few like lines that I'm like, ooh, it didn't even work in 2015.
No.
Like people just don't talk like
No.
But I do like the sentiment because like I do think like if we're going to expect kills or fun, like I don't think I'd pick up on that immediately, like the violence immediately.
No.
I did point out because the effects are so great in this film, the
Yeah.
Funhouse like effects are as good as the actual kills, and I feel
Are
like
you-
they should have maybe like made the
Are you talking about
Funhouse
the thing spinning?
No, just like
in general.
there's the part where
Oh.
Bradford, the dentist, like goes and hits that button.
Oh
And the
yeah.
dummy starts spewing blood. Like that's the same type of effect, and they went all out for the dummies even.
Yeah.
I was wondering. No, I was wondering that. I was like, what's the difference? Was there a conversation of, was there a difference between like, well, we got to make the Funhouse effects dumber and these ones like,
It seems like they were just like,
But
let's
they're
go all out
not.
on all of it.
Yeah, it's like
Great
just
point.
consistent. You're like, is that a real kill? Is it not?
I'd love it if I went to a funhouse like this.
Yeah, I think they got Robert Kurtzman, and they were the film crew was just like, we're going all out.
Whatever you
All of
want to
it.
do.
Yeah. Yep.
There was one funny thing I did hear. Speaking of that, apparently that you were saying whatever you want to do. Kurtzman was like, "Oh, can my sons like be people who get killed? I already have. It'll save you money. Like, I already have molds of their heads." And they were like, "Yeah, like,
Absolutely.
we
I
have
love
to
that
save
he
a
already
cool-
has
no."
molds of their heads.
Yeah. So definitely was allowed to probably do what he wanted or make suggestions.
That's awesome. They take a selfie with this dead kid's body while Walter watches and walks away in disbelief. I hadn't caught that the first time, but Walter looks at them taking a selfie and he's just like, what? And walks away like defeated. They enter the classroom where Stitchface is and tell the kid to go first. He says he's not scared. When the lights shut off and in flashes, we see Stitchface kill him. The lights come back on as they wonder where the kid went, but say he's probably waiting outside and start yelling out more hashtags. It's like hashtag. Hashtag is way too long. I remember when that was a joke. I do.
I do
okay?
remember.
I remember when it was like funny
Yeah.
to do hashtag. in your
It's like you wouldn't
hashtags.
write your caption. You would write your caption in the hashtags, and they were
Yeah.
so specific.
Yeah. The main group is in line to get in when Gerardo walks off on his phone. It looks like Rosalina will be off in 40 minutes, and the group asks where he's going. He says the place is too scary for him and that only white people like this shit.
As a resident white person, I do like when the guy looks behind and goes, "There are a lot of white people." And they are in Ohio.
Back at the police station, the deputy is playing a shooting game on an NES and gets prank called by someone acting like their friend was killed at the funhouse. The deputy gets made fun of when he tries to go off on them and decides he's just not going to answer the phone anymore for the rest of the night. He even takes the phone off the hook.
Great cop work.
Yeah, and that's the catalyst for why all this shit goes on for so long.
The group of friends walk through a maze and see the clown missing his face. They just watch as Rocco breaks his neck and laugh it off, saying they suck at acting. They see a ton of bodies leading up to Bradford's dental office and are like, I feel like they might be real. Jason starts recording every time someone gets murdered.
I think this is where he says, I'm going to make a vine. Yeah.
I feel like they were like your resident like stoner movie nerds, and I'm like, I get those two guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, cool effects.
Yeah, Walter's literally ripping a person apart and pulling intestines out, and Randall even tells Mikey to go grab some of it. I was like, why? Why would you go grab some? They make it into the high school section and notice a window leading into the classroom. Randall and Mikey stay behind and notice Quinn slitting the throat of the actor as she screams for help. They're like, it looks so real, while Jason comes back saying Quinn looks hot. They all make it out, and Jason and Christina decide it's time to find a bathroom to fuck.
Because, it's been an hour.
Yeah, that's it's so I get for the movie, but it's one of those things I'm just like,
Are they in high
I
school?
I mean, like I get pretty horny, but like not that horny.
Yeah, there's a recovery period.
Yeah, where it's like, I mean, we share a house. Like, we must have homes. They're just so horny. These two characters.
Good for them, though, I guess. Good for
I
them.
mean, I guess.
Yeah, 'cause it works
Yeah.
out. They're both into it.
Heavy appetite.
Heavy appetite. Laurie and Morgan are left behind alone and walk off together awkwardly. Let's just set the premise that the entire movie, it's like they're trying to push the Laurie Morgan relationship, and Laurie
Mhm.
keeps being like, I'm not a virgin, you fucking assholes.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
Laurie's
Yeah.
Laurie's just kind of very feels like make a move. Like she has that like I'm a sweet girl, but like make a move. And
Yeah.
Morgan's like, I don't know, man. Like
Trying
you
too
just,
hard.
yeah.
He keeps missing because he's trying so hard. Where Laurie's like literally like sending signals like, dude, like you really don't have to try that hard.
Because before this, there was the banter. They were like, well, stay here at the diner. And she's like, okay, like we can hang out alone. And Morgan's like, oh no, we should go with you. Like, I don't know. Like, and she's like, what would be so wrong about hanging out together?
Yeah, she's like, I didn't say no.
And this would make sense if they were high schoolers, but like they're in
No, they're a little
post
too
college.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
post college too.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, I guess everyone blooms up their
Blossoms,
own.
yeah.
And I like really do like I do think these characters would all make sense if they were in high school.
Mhm.
If we just did high schoolers or like freshmen in college. But I do like Renee Dorian playing like who wrote the movie. Like she does really well as Lori, and I do like her character. So I'm like, cool, I like you in this role instead of it just being like, you know, the kids playing like teenagers.
Right. Yeah, Morgan, I feel like maybe took a lot of inspiration even from Nick from New Girl.
Oh yeah.
If you look at him, you're like, oh, this is totally
His
like
vibe,
the Nick act.
yeah.
Similar vibes. Minus the earring.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And he even looks like him. I believe the guy's name is something Angel. Matt Angel, is that his name?
Yeah, he don't have a I have the thing to my right. He don't have a Wikipedia though. Okay, so they would have been around, or at least Matt Angel would have been our age.
A couple of these actors are in a bunch of other stuff. The guy who plays Jason was in Pretty Little Liars.
They're
Really?
all in like a ton of projects.
Yeah.
I think one of the two stoners was a Disney Channel stuff.
Yes.
Like kid.
Yes, he was in Victorious. I pointed him out.
Yeah. I recognized him immediately. I was like, this guy looks too familiar.
Yeah, he's a child actor.
Good for him.
Yeah. No, it has a really good cast of characters, but you're right. They set up everyone with context. There's this like, not even a will they, won't they. It's just like, they're the love interests we're centered around.
Yeah.
And we just get several scattered scenes of them being awkward with each other throughout the whole
so
film.
awkward, yeah.
At least it's a tight, like, 90.
Yeah. Right. Next, we see Rocco go into the front, closing and locking the gates to the park so that no one escapes. In the car, Gerardo is on the phone with Rosalina, who tells him she's going to get out late. They have this very, like, super sensual, like, oh, I love you. What time are you going to get out, baby? They even talk in Spanish. It's so
then
romantic.
she starts yelling at him.
Yeah. They end the call angrily. He pulls out a flask and listens to music. I'm surprised, okay, with the guitar music that they keep playing every time he's in the camera, I'm surprised they didn't have him listening to Banda.
Yeah, that's what I mean about his character being like, he's accurate, but then like the people around him make jokes that are offensive.
Yeah. In the bathroom, Christina and Jason crazy ass sex. That's all I wrote. What?
Yep. I mean, yeah, that's all that happens.
In the bathroom, Christina and Jason have crazy ass sex, but are particular about the bathroom being gross. Her bra falls to the floor, so she's like, I'm not putting that back on. So Jason throws it over the stall, and we see that Quinn was waiting for them.
She was watching the whole time.
Yeah, it was like a little kid like watching, like peeping Tomming. Like that was like the
vibe.
You know. And she's like she's a dirty fucking character, so I get it.
Yeah, she's like, all right, I'm gonna kill them, but let me just watch this.
Let me see how this goes. Yeah.
She watches through the stall door, and we cut back to the deputy getting a real call from the funhouse. Back in the bathroom, Christina stays behind to freshen up while we pan back to Lori and Morgan being awkward. While they're talking, a man in the background runs around screaming as he's missing an arm and screaming in pain. Lori is just like, wait, what?
What happened?
But then they go back to talking, yeah. Everyone meets back up with them except for Christina, who's confronted by Quinn. Christina starts making fun of her for holding a knife, asking if the bathroom is in the safe zone from the freak show. She tries walking away when Quinn slashes her face and they have an all-out battle. Christina almost drowns Quinn in the toilet until finally Quinn pushes Christina up against the hook in the bathroom stall that comes out the front of her neck.
So I love this scene. I love that Christina's just as fucking crazy as Quinn.
Yeah.
She's very casual about that cut on her face, though.
No, she's like, you cut my face.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her attack.
It was so deep, though. I think I'd be like, oh my god, I'm already dead. But she, like, deserved to kill her. She deserved to kill her. It was like a fluke that she didn't win.
It'd have been cool if Christina, like, stayed till the end and was, like, the one just murdering everybody because she's just, like, inconvenienced. She's like, I'm waiting to have sex again and you've ruined it.
You ruined my schedule of sex 3 times a night at least.
They do a fake out, and like and Morgan and Lori are the ones to die in those scenarios, and then the others are gonna make it to the end.
Yeah. Right. Quinn watches her suffer and then just kisses her on the lips.
Yeah, and again, it was like heavily foreshadowed that someone was gonna die by that like bathroom hook.
Yeah. At the motel, Sheriff Kate shows back up and notices the sticky notes and newspaper clippings on the wall. She gets a call from the news saying that Quinn was a freelancer and was interested in the asylum in town. Kate calls the deputy and he doesn't answer. Meanwhile, the group of friends realize Christina's been gone for a while and notice Quinn walking away carrying Christina's body. They all split up when they enter the maze again, and Morgan's left alone in a dark projector room until Lori finds him. They enter the classroom and more bodies are sitting at the desks. Christina is propped up at a desk with a dunce hat and Jason loses it. They hear someone mumbling as a person rips the wire on their mouth and tries to scream, but it's cut short when Quinn comes out of nowhere and throws a knife at the back of her head.
This was a cool scene.
Yeah.
I do like
effect.
the effect of it, like ripping her lip just for her to die anyways.
It's so painful.
Yeah.
That's gruff.
Oh, it is. Jason tries to run at her, but they drag him away as Quinn says there's no talking in class. When they make it outside, they see Mikey and Randall eating as they say they were looking for Christina. Jason gets pissed because he's like, no, you weren't. And Morgan yells that things are seriously fucked up. They're confused when they notice Rocco come around the corner. Randall says this weird thing about the fear of clowns being the subverting of what used to be a happy childhood memory, and is about to say this clown is pretty cool when Rocco just lifts him up and throws him at the ground so hard he dies.
Way to get really deep out of nowhere.
Yeah, it doesn't match anything.
It's the stoner mentality of
It is, yeah.
They all run and make it around Rocco. At the police station, Kate walks in on Deputy Doyle, who's handcuffed himself to his chair because he's just so bored. She's confused why he hasn't been answering and why the phone is off the hook, but tells him to gear up because they're going to the Funhouse. At the Funhouse, we watch the group run from Rocco. Mikey stupidly, this death is so stupid. Mikey stupidly trips on a random person's foot. It doesn't even look like the person would have caused him to trip. He purposely kicked the person's
He went out of
foot
his way to
fell.
trip on this person.
Rocco, for some reason, also chooses to ignore every other person in sight and just goes straight for Mikey. He even bumps into the guy from earlier who he said doesn't look up from his phone. Did you notice that? It's the same guy. Mikey's acting like he broke his ankle and lays his head perfectly centered on one of those test your strength hammer games.
He just sets up his own death perfectly.
It's like they had an idea for a kill, and it's like, we just got to get that head on that thing no matter what.
Rocco grabs the mallet and destroys his head. It's like one hit, just split head open.
So that's a really cool effect where they combine CG and practical.
Oh,
nice.
is it?
So they smashed, a fake head, and then they imposed his face over it to make it's seamless, because it's gnarly.
Oh,
It's
it looks
gross.
crazy. Yeah, when they zoom out and you can see his head laying on that thing. His head is in two halves.
So, Eric, you've been mentioning, though, a few times, like, with editing being a little, delayed in some parts on this. And that's one of this watch, because, when we do podcasts, I feel like when you take notes, you, see a little things more intently than I have the last dozen times I've seen this. Is his head, he, really positions it to be on that. It's it's just there a little second too long where it's you could have rolled out.
Yeah. It's too on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
They make it to the back fence and try to jump over when they realize it's electric. They decide to go under, and Morgan's the only one who makes it past because Rocco gets a hold of Jason and starts pushing his face into it. Lori jumps on Rocco to try and help Jason, but Rocco just pushes Jason's face so hard into it that it basically presses into the lines because it's a chain link fence. It rips his face apart, his eyes.
Yeah, I like
falling
that
out and
kill.
everything.
Like Swiss cheese.
Lori yells for Morgan to go get help as we see Rocco follow her back into the funhouse. At his car, Gerardo is asleep when suddenly a girl jumps at his car covered in blood and wakes him up. He screams for such a long time and lowers his window and is like, "Are you dead?"
So that was the improv. They said was.
I love it.
He should have been the star.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'd say he was. I say he stole the show.
Yeah. Oh, stole the show. I meant about him. I kind of want to see his character walk through the whole movie.
The spin-off film where he's just saving people at random points of his life.
Yeah.
He didn't expect it, but he just is surrounded by white people who put themselves in weird situations.
Is that's the John McClane I want. That's the Die Hard I want.
The deputy and Kate are at the asylum and notice all the dead bodies while Doyle keeps slipping around and falling on the blood. Kate asks him about the prank calls when he says all they were saying was that people were being murdered at the funhouse, whatever that means. Kate's like, "You're a fucking idiot," and starts running as he finally gets it.
He's just a dope.
Morgan makes it over a hill and sees the cops show up. He's happy to see them and starts running at them, but Deputy Doyle pulls his gun on him immediately and shoots him in the arm. Kate yells at Doyle, and Morgan tells him it's dangerous in the funhouse, but he didn't realize it was more dangerous out here. Doyle says in his defense, he told him to stop running, and he just kept running. Morgan's like, "I don't have a weapon," while Kate tends to his wound, which is only a graze. Kate asks how many killers are in there when Morgan says 5 or 6. She says, "Wow, we're going to need backup," and hands Morgan a gun, like a civilian, a gun.
Yeah.
They hear a truck and all point their guns at it when Gerardo gets off dramatically. He says he thought these güeros could use some help after all Machete does the cutting as he pulls out a knife. Doyle asks if this is the real Machete as Morgan looks back disappointed, and Doyle's like, I've never seen those films. They're too violent for me, so
he just shot a man for no reason.
But then later hesitates so many times.
Yeah.
Cartoon. Just a cartoon. I do love the Machete costume has because he's a chef, has the kitchenware.
Yeah.
It's the wooden mount, the meat tenderizer, and the smallest kitchen knife.
Lori walks in on Bradford, the dentist, trying to kill Dennis's assistant. She hits him over the back of the head with a gas tank, and he turns around, quickly pushing her against the wall and analyzing her teeth, which I think is cool. It's like spot on for the character. The guy comes out of nowhere and stabs him in the ear with one of his tools, but Bradford isn't impressed and starts choking him. He's like, one patient at a time. This is when Lori thinks quickly and hits him in the side of the head with a tray, causing the tool to go further into his head and killing him. She walks off with the guy as we cut back to the main stage.
I made this joke while we were watching it, but if Titan has taught us anything, it's that an injury to the ear is a very fast way to kill someone.
Just don't get yourself thrown up on.
Yeah.
Sure. I got hit in the ear when I paintballed once. And it went past the mask. Oh, it was like the worst pain ever. So I can only imagine in the ear.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that sucks.
Yeah. One and done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Never again.
Paintballing is like one of those things that's like a lot more fun when you're younger and don't give a shit. But the older you get,
But when you're
like,
old and everything hurts.
I don't want to choose pain.
No, I'm good. I got bad knees.
Yeah. Bob and Dave are talking while Manuel approaches from behind Bob and breaks his neck. The crowd cheers while Dave tries to joke about it. Manuel takes the mic and says he hates radio DJs and shoves the mic into Dave's mouth, killing him as well. The crowd cheers as Manuel says they're at the special portion of the evening. We see more and more dead bodies as the deputy tries to joke around until Kate tells him if he says one more thing, she'll shoot him herself. She should have shot him when he started shooting at civilians.
She waits way too long.
Yeah. Lori and the assistant turn the corner in a maze and get scared by a clown. She reacts quickly and kicks him in the balls. He screams and asks why she would do that, and she asks him if he has any idea what's even going on. They walk off together as Manuel continues saying that the crowd is full of sick individuals. The crowd cheers as he says it's all been real and they've really been killing people all evening. He ramps them up asking if they don't believe him, and the people are like, nah, no way. Kate sees Manuel and Quinn and gets flashbacks to the fire. We see Quinn as a young girl, but also Kate as Manuel tells her to relax. Manuel says it's time for their final act and releases the killers on the crowd. They all start killing a bunch of people. Kate tells the group to help as many people as they can and goes off on her own.
Watch the scene over again and pay attention to the people in the crowd. These actors are literally laughing as they are running.
Vivi pointed that out, and I stopped listening to anything that was being said because I was just like staring at the people in the back, and it's true. It's just
I love that.
A mosh pit.
Yeah.
I love funny background actors because they're probably all the crew members.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lady in the background who has like a fuzzy hat, and she's just kind of like walking around aimlessly looking
Like where am
I don't think anything ever will beat in, was it Halloween, the last Halloween Kills, the woman with the iron, which just seems like a background actor prop of like, grab something you have, and showed up and it's like, I'm ready. Oh god, next time I give this a watch, I'm going to pay specifically attention to that crowd because I believe that 100%.
Oh yeah.
The deputy says he guesses it's just us three amigos as Gerardo and Morgan just stare at him. The deputy says he didn't say that because he's racist. He said it because there's just three of them and that he has plenty of Mexican friends and a couple of black friends too.
Woof.
Yeah, it's so unnecessary.
Yeah, like only white people would make these jokes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I hope
Joe.
I wouldn't make them. I hope I wouldn't make them, but you guys could judge me on your own accord.
We see more killings in the crowd, including a scene of a kid getting his head pulled off by Rocco. Lori and the other two make it out of the maze when the clown decides to leave them behind after watching Quinn saw a girl's neck off with a knife.
I think I would also leave them behind. Like, you're good.
I just love the amount of kills they cram in.
Yeah.
If you're not watching it for the acting and like the story, just watch it purely for like the fun they had with all the special effects. I'd also leave though because Quinn uses two people's heads as like pom-poms and like runs around and dances with them.
It's chaotic.
Yeah. This is probably like the version of Harley Quinn that we've never seen on screen that we should probably
I feel
True.
like this is the Harley Quinn that would be a real life Harley Quinn. The amount of like way she's supposed to be like unhinged.
Yeah, this is scary. Like this is probably more scary than anything we'll ever get in DC.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's wild. If this movie was it's not popular at all, right? Like we had to tell people and what it is. But if it was popular, like Stitchface would be like a popular con costume.
Oh yeah,
She would, yeah. She might be at like horror conventions.
Maybe, but it seems like so perfect to like wear to a con. Just like white face, corset with a little
blood
red on your nose.
I feel like this is one of those things where there's a character that's a fan favorite because I think Quinn is probably my favorite of all of these people. We had it happen with VHS where Siren was a result of VHS because people loved that first character so much in the first VHS. Where if Quinn had a spin-off film, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, and I haven't seen these movies, so I may be wrong, but how All Hallows Eve brought about Terrifier.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So let's get some more Stitch face, whoever's listening out there.
I'm down.
Morgan and the others are helping people get out from under the fence when they see Rocco with a mallet approaching. Doyle fires at him and misses until his gun is out of ammo. Morgan says he's so bad at shooting and pulls the gun up to Rocco, but before he can shoot, Lori comes around the corner with the injured guy and screams, causing Morgan to turn and shoot the guy that she's
So
holding.
bad.
Lori and Morgan are like, holy shit, as Rocco hits Doyle in the side with the mallet, causing him and Morgan to fall. Rocco is about to bring the mallet down on them when Gerardo saves them by stabbing him in the back. They all run off and make it away. They walk through a graveyard area and make it to Walter's taxidermy shed. Doyle points his gun at him, but Walter tries talking him out of it. Like, he's like, oh, it's just my friend.
I found him like this.
A good position to die in. And Doyle puts his gun down, but Lori's like, you can shoot him.
I like how now he needs permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He shot quick, guys.
Yeah.
That's the real horror of this movie.
Doyle shoots him, and we get a few moments of him just puking afterward. It's the longest scene of them just watching him puke because he's like, I've never shot somebody. Yes, you have. You shot Morgan like 5 minutes ago. Doyle says they need to give him a minute when Lori says they can be selfish and save themselves or fight back and help the people who are still left. You were like, fuck no.
No, fuck no. As soon as she said that, I was like, what is wrong with you? Get out of there.
Yeah, get out of there.
Yeah.
Doyle says it's a good plan and takes a head count of which killers are left. They all split up to take a killer on themselves, but before they do, Morgan takes a chance to kiss Lori and says they need to survive to go on a third date. They skip the second one entirely. This whole third date joke happens because earlier they're talking about sex so much because of Christina and Jason that Lori's like, I don't really start talking about sex till the third date. And Morgan's like, so when are we getting to that third date?
They should have banged in honor of Morgan and Jason.
They really should have.
Right, yeah. I'm sure that the writer would have loved that too and would have talked them through it.
Yeah.
Christina and Jason, sorry. Yeah. They should have, like, off screen be like, oh, that was great. We got it out of the way. And then continue with the killing spree.
Yeah. They make it out to the courtyard, see Jeffrey running by and chase after. Meanwhile, Kate comes up to Manuel from behind with a gun to his head. Quinn yells for him in panic, but Manuel says the gun's just for show. He says they go way back and that she's just pissed about her mother. Kate shoots him immediately, and Quinn throws a knife, but it just hits Dave in the chest. Dave, the DJ guy. Manuel fights back, causing Kate to let go, and they go on the chase. Quinn chases after, followed by Lori. Doyle's left on his own and faces off with Rocco. He's like, I knew it was going to be me who had to face him. Gerardo and Morgan fight Jeffrey in the kitchen while Kate confronts Manuel in the fire portion of the maze. He says he thought they lost her in the fire. She looks so much like her mother. She starts putting her gun down, but tells him to relax, as it's only death, and shoots him in the head. This is something that he said to her when she watched her mother burst in flames.
We also get the dramatic reveal of, like, Dad, it's only death. Which, like, we knew.
Yeah.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
It's a good tie-in for, like, I think you said earlier, it feels like a lot of, like, filling to, like, get to the kills. And, like, it's like, okay, you tied it in a little bit with what out, but she doesn't line. And then that end scene, refresh my memory, happens in the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
The spin tunnel.
It's supposed to be like the reenactment of the fire in the building.
Yeah. The one thing I thought was neat was that spin tunnel, that neon. That was all just at that Funhouse.
It was already there.
It was already there, and it made a lot of people, like, feel pretty sick.
Not just with all the murderous kills.
No, just the motion sickness.
Yeah. She shoots him in the head, and it's, like, super dramatic. The music even changes, and it's like, boo, and then, like, slow motion, and there's a lot of, like, orchestra. But
I appreciate this, though, because it doesn't drag out the kill of the main villain.
Dead.
Out of nowhere, Quinn comes out and stabs her in the back.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah. Back in the kitchen, Gerardo and Jeffrey continue the fight until finally they team up and shove Jeffrey's face onto a stove that actually works. I think Morgan it's like, why is this on? Why does it work? Morgan and Gerardo scream, but then celebrate as they pull Jeffrey's face off the stove. They're disgusted and freak out. And this is the part where I was saying that Gerardo's just like, fuck, motherfucker, son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah. That was the most realistic part of the movie, of the reaction of, like...
Oh, yeah. We just killed someone.
Like, what the fuck?
Because they're celebrating. And they're just like,
yeah,
because usually, like, horror movies, like, it's like they've never done anything. They're a 17-year-old kids, and then they're like, yeah, I knew how to shoot a shotgun. I killed that person. It's like, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yes.
You just blew this person's face off in front of me. Yeah.
Freddy Kreuger didn't look like this.
Doyle faces off with Rocco and tries talking him out of it. He's like, for someone who would wear someone else's face on their own face, You seem like a reasonable guy. Rocco's about to swing, though, and Dell shoots him. Laurie joins the fight between Kate and Quinn, but is easily thrown aside as Kate and Quinn just stab each other while Kate says they'll have a family reunion in hell.
I thought it was a good line.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I mean, this whole vibe of the movie is that.
Yeah, it's cheese.
Yeah.
It's better than the Kate Beckinsale, like, it's better that you don't murder somebody and tell them the whole plan.
Oh, yeah, and Van
before you
Helsing.
kill 'em.
Oh, yeah, you guys covered Van Helsing, and I've been meaning to watch it since I listened to your episode. Yeah, that's a cornball of a
Yeah,
movie.
it is.
Yeah, it's a good cheesy line. Like, I feel like it fits the moment.
Dole makes it to see Kate die and runs out pissed. Suddenly the drama factor in this whole movie just like gets put to a 10, right? Like,
Yeah, suddenly
Mhm.
Doyle's like a hero.
and is like so upset about everything, and he's just like, I'm pissed about Kate's murder, and is done with all the jokiness.
Yeah, but the thing with Doyle is, even if dead, like, he still shouldn't get her job. Like, he's
terrible.
Yeah.
really bad at his job. Like, really bad.
I'm also surprised that they're the only 2 cops in the entire town, because that giant
For-
facility for 2 cops.
yeah. For a town that also, like, is hosting a funhouse that size, like, that has to have more. That has to have a full police department.
Was there no security at this place?
No.
Oh,
Security was Jeffrey, remember?
Oh, yes.
It's the next morning, so they waited till the next morning for all these other cops to show up.
Oh
Or at
my
least it was
gosh.
that late, is what we're supposed to get. More cops show up. They're just like coming in with all their cars and guns. There's not a single minority in the cop force either. It's just all bald white men.
so I chalked that up to, like, Ohio. I
Yeah,
don't know. That's what I imagined.
makes sense.
Yeah. The group makes it out as the cops point their guns at them, but Doyle tells them to put their guns down. Morgan jokes about them surviving, saying, "What are the odds?" As Rocco shows up behind him, lifts him up, and kills him, breaking his back Batman style.
We did mention
Yeah.
this earlier.
Doyle yells out, "Get down!" and they drop to the floor while Rocco yells. The cops just stare at him when Doyle's like, "Shoot him, you fucking idiots." We get a super slow-mo of these cops shooting Rocco dramatically. It's like, it's all just a bunch of men just like unloading clips. We even see a guy reload.
It's thick.
Doyle takes a shotgun and goes up to Rocco, still dramatically, and shoots him at point blank. We even see the blood splash back. No like comedy at all, just serious face from Doyle.
Yeah.
He's matured.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It took one murder of the only other person in
The police force.
Shooting at a civilian, murder of your police officer, and a dozen murders around you to mature you.
I mean, that will do it.
I mean, he jokes
Yeah.
about dead people though earlier. They passed that carnival area. There's a bunch of dead people over the counters, and he's just like, "Oh, I love this game."
Yeah.
Ignoring the dead bodies. Yeah, he's the worst. Next, we see Gerardo on his phone explaining where he was to Rosalina the whole time. And the guy who was on his phone also walks out of the park, still looking down at his phone, just walking around like, "Oh, that was cool."
Yeah.
Joel's
it's
like,
alright.
"What the fuck?"
I laughed so hard at this.
It's a
scene.
good gag, and this is the one piece of trivia I wanted to save for now, is because, like I said, I listened to this fucking talk about this movie all day today. It was the screenwriters, the married couple, Doyle and Laurie. I think her like brother or something like that. She said suggested that joke be in the movie, that there should just be a guy walking around on his phone,
And just
I
fine.
was like, it wasn't in their script. It was like a family friend or something like that, or a brother.
It totally would happen though.
It would.
Oh,
This is what happens when you mind your own business.
Yeah.
You survive.
my phone, blah blah blah. Today, maybe a couple TikToks flopping around. Just
Some tweets. You're fine.
Some tweets.
Yeah.
You're just on the Discord talking about how lame this place is.
Yeah.
listen. I'm downloading the Discord on my phone right now. Okay.
We see Laurie being treated in an ambulance as paramedics bring in Kate's body. It's also not subtle at all.
Not
it's
subtle.
clearly that a face has been put onto the body.
It is so
Mhm.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Obvious.
Oh yeah, it's a clear reference.
Yeah.
The ambulance drives off, and we see a knife coming out of the sleeve as Laurie screams. Credits roll, and we see a mid-credit scene of Quinn coming out and ripping Kate's face off. She walks off happily, and the credits continue.
It's funny too, because like I think when I first saw it, I wasn't expecting the end tag, right? Not the Rocco at the end, like the mid credit. I was like, oh, they survived and it happened, and I don't know why. Maybe I was naive, but I was like, and then I was like, oh, she's still out there, like she killed her. And whenever I like a character, like I said earlier, like I liked her character a lot. I was like, oh, she's dead now, but like this is the movie I went to go see. So
That's true. It'd have been cool to see like Laurie come above it, and then maybe like at the end credits scene would be like, no, Laurie just survived.
yeah, no, Stitch Face definitely killed her and everyone.
Or it should have
in
been
her
Christina,
path.
just like whole ass other turn.
Yeah.
Have Christina come out and be the one
And
who
she's
takes the police
crazy
out.
now because of everything she went through. Yeah,
Yeah, this movie's fun though. This movie's fun.
Yeah.
it is fun.
Do you want to talk about what you thought about it, Joe?
Yeah, so yeah, I think I've revealed my hand a lot. I really I loved our conversation, but I really love this movie, even with all its warts and all. It sets that perfect vibe for me and tone of Halloween. Like it's become in that rotation of like, you know, this like the October time of like, okay, let's put Halloween on, let's put Trick or Treat on, and I've last several years started including this into it. So yeah, I just really love this movie.
I think this is just a good, fun, dumb B movie that you
Yeah.
could just throw on and make fun of and enjoy some good kills. It's not groundbreaking. The characters are fun and stereotypical, but it's just a fun time.
Yeah, the way I guess I put it, it's a great. Why I do like it a lot too is because you said the funness of it and not take seriously. It's what I like to call a good beer movie. Like it's a
Yeah.
movie where like if you guys were over or whatever, we're hanging out and be like, oh, this is a good one to put on. We could put on the background, hang out, have a couple drinks, maybe, you know, talk, do whatever, but like I don't need to pay attention. And sometimes it's the most fun.
Right. Yeah, and I think that the kills are all super fun. Like if you like that stuff and you're just like, I feel like that's why people like the new Texas Chainsaw. It's not that the movie was like crazy good or like groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, if you're here for slasher's sake, come watch this.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a hot take or anything. I wish the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre just maybe not so much of the comedy of this movie, but just took the tone of this movie through and through.
Similar
Which
to
is what
the
the
sequel.
originals-
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were in this like, oh shit, people are getting killed out of nowhere, but there's still some like dark
Comedic.
comedy in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some levity.
Yeah, I feel like we've ended a lot of reviews lately with it's just a fun movie, but we've just been watching kind of like B-roll movies, not so
Yeah,
much
you
for
just-
the content, just a good time.
Yeah, those are the best ones to review.
Yes.
Yeah. I know I've liked the podcast. I like what I've done and when we could go dive deep into like it was fun and we could talk about it and like so yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Especially
Yeah.
today when Erick replied in the Discord of like, and we have thoughts, and I was like, oh no. God.
I thought that might scare you. I thought you were going to be like, oh no, we're going to go on and Eric's going to just, BB2 are going to rip it apart and see
No.
what
I mean, if
fucking
you ripped
made
it
of this.
apart, that would be a blast too.
Yeah.
Because like I love different opinions.
Ripping apart a B movie is kind of hard, right? Because it's kind of just like, well, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Actually, I just did that with our friend's least favorite scary movie. What's your least favorite scary movie on? And they picked this movie called Among Friends. And it was like this, it was a lower budgeted B movie of this. I didn't like it that much. Jesse loved it. And me and Travis completely did not like, you know. And so I did my best recording to not rip it apart, but also let my feelings known.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like too easy to rip up a B movie because you're just kind of like, it's like what we did with Beast Bay Road. We went on there just being like, yo, like this is the stupidest movie we've ever seen.
But those are the
gotta watch
funnest
that.
to cover sometimes. Oh, it's ridiculously bad.
It's so
Ridiculously
stupid.
bad.
It's so bad. Yeah, just check it out.
Beast of B Road.
Beast of Bray Road. Yeah.
Bray Row. Yeah, I've watched so many low budget, bad like movies for fun, you know, just to rip on. But I don't talk about them on camera, so it's different.
Gerardo and the dude on the phone, best characters, stole the show.
Best character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is a great time.
But what would you guys rate it?
Oh yeah, I would so I'm gonna be high on this. Just it's like I said, it's a fan favorite of mine. I put 8.4. I put on our notes 8.3, but 8.4 after really talking about it. It's truly like a top Halloween movie for me.
I'm not going to be as nice as Joe. Sorry.
No, please don't.
So it is fun, but it is a B movie. Effects definitely bring it up for me. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's not the worst B movie I've seen for sure.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6.5. It's definitely better. It's better than I expected. With movies of this style, it's just like all corn. This is being what it was, and like there's things that like steal the show for sure. Makes it fun. Yeah, to give it a 6.5.
Cool.
So I think that averages is around like a 7 something. I'll do the math later.
Yeah,
Math later.
I feel like that's where it really lies. Like I said, like I'm bringing a lot of baggage to my rating, so I get it.
Do you want to talk about what scared Loki about this film?
He was scared by something?
I think he didn't like the funhouse type noises that were going on.
The wah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
just hates any kind of screaming and laughter.
He just hates everything.
He's like, everything has to be sad unless I'm getting a treat. Then it's all happy.
Yes.
Fun and games.
You want to tell us about it, Loki?
Do you think he would like Harley Quinn?
I don't know. He's insane.
He'd probably be like, I know that you're busy over there cutting heads off, but where are my treats?
Yeah.
Do I get some of that? Oh, you know who he'd like is Jeffrey.
Oh, because he's cutting up people?
Yeah. I mean, Loki wouldn't know that. Loki
Yeah.
just engulfs anything that's given to him.
That's very Gerald's Game. Have you seen Gerald's Game?
I have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where the dog just
that is-
eats people.
Yeah.
That is a little Jaws game.
Yeah. We don't let him get ideas from those types of films.
No, you guys are safe with your with Loki.
He's not allowed to see.
But thanks so much for being on with us. I know it's been chaotic trying to schedule this for both of us. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, thank you so much, and so happy we were able to do this. You can find me at Chendango1 on Twitter or Flyover State of Fear, and you can catch our podcast, the Flyover State of Film YouTube channel, and on all podcast services.
Yeah, thanks so much for jumping on. This is like awesome. I can't wait to have you back. If you think of another film too that you want to watch, and then one that we can actually come up with a cocktail for when we're not like scrambling.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
absolutely.
We owe you a cocktail.
Okay, absolutely. I owe you guys a ton of drinks. So, yeah, definitely can't wait.
But as always, we hope you guys had a good time here with us. You can follow us pretty much anywhere at Shaken Not Scared Pod, except Twitter. Twitter is Shaken Scared Pod. You can send us an email at shakennotScaredPod@gmail.com.
Support the show on Patreon. You can get early access to episodes or a bonus episode and theme drink idea every month. Every time we do this episode, I'm just going to keep pushing the Discord because it's so much fun. We have everyone who we've ever had guests on the show over there, even Joe here. He's going to figure it out. Vivi's also going to figure it out.
I am going to figure it out, yes.
People keep
I'm with
adding
you,
her,
Vivi.
and she's like, hello, one word answers.
That's all I can manage right now.
But come hang out, come tell us what you're watching, what you're drinking, what you are just doing that's creepy, and listen wherever you get your podcast. Give us a follow, check out our drink videos, give them a like.
Be sure to like, rate, review, all that good stuff. And okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.